There are two golden rules without which your ex will never come back. If you break even one of them, she won't even start to miss you. The first rule is extremely simple. Monitoring your ex in 100% of cases blocks her return. Even if you just visit her page once a week or just look at her profile picture. Where does this desire even come from? To peek, to find something out? Well, because it just gives an illusion of control. So you saw something new from her, a photo, a status, the number of friends when she was last online, and it feels like it gets a little bit easier for you. So you get this short-term relief, but you took it on credit. Tomorrow evening, it's going to hit you even harder. Checking your ex's stories is the same as having a drink to cure a hangover. You didn't get rid of the headache, you just postponed it. And now the pain will be much stronger. But the hardest part happens about a month, 2 or 3 after the breakup. That's when your brain throws you an idea. What if I go to her page right now and there she is, my ex, with a tear-streaked, crying face on her knees, with a caption saying, "Vova, forgive me. Please forgive me. I've understood everything." And of course, rationally, you know that scenario is just impossible. But your imagination tells you, how do you know for sure? But you haven't checked. Spying on your ex, that's exactly how it starts. When you think, okay, I'll just check once, just this one time, and I won't do it again. Keeping tabs on your ex is like scratching a bug bite. When you scratch it, it seems to feel better for a moment. But the itch only gets worse. But in general, breaking up with a woman is a huge blow to your nervous system, to your psyche. A man can't take it, no one can. And so he turns to hope. Hope is like a painkiller. You tell yourself, yes, we're not together, but maybe tomorrow we'll make up. Yes, we're not talking, but maybe she'll realize her mistake. So as a result, you don't feel 100% of the pain, but maybe 50 or even 40 or 20. Well, it depends on how convincingly you lie to yourself. So, what sets apart the men whose exes eventually came back? They accepted all the pain completely. They told themselves, I don't hope for anything anymore. They didn't comfort themselves with the thought that their ex, in theory, should reach out. On the contrary, they convinced themselves that it was already impossible. They didn't feed that hope, but did everything they could to destroy it. And all the examples we know from books, real life, and my consultations, they all say the same thing. Exes only come back to those who aren't waiting. And they never come back to those who are hoping. Not a single exception. I haven't seen a single case outside of this pattern so far. But look, if a man has just broken up, if a woman has left him and he's being torn apart inside, then guys, those pieces of advice you write in the comments, like things like, be a man, respect yourself, start working out, well, of course they don't work. Do you really think that for someone whose chest is being torn apart from the inside, these motivational quotes will help them in any way? Of course not. I would compare a breakup to surgery that really shouldn't be done without anesthesia. And it's only when you create some distance or go no contact that you actually start to feel better. You inject yourself with a certain dose of hope just to keep from collapsing face first onto the floor. Even if you're not doing a full-on no contact, I just pause, but you've made the decision that you'll never be the first to text her again. Never, under any circumstances. Even a pause like that will work. True no contact starts the moment you suddenly realize there are things more important than getting your ex back. The problem isn't that you sit there really missing her. That's normal. The problem is that you allow yourself to do it. You allow yourself to want a woman who doesn't want you. You literally stand in front of the mirror and say, I want to be with someone who despises me. I don't see anything wrong with that. And at that very moment, you're not only betraying yourself, your own values and your true feelings, but also a genuinely good woman who could have come into your life, someone who would have sincerely told you, I need you. But instead, you just go ahead and block her way in, preventing her from reaching you. You continue to cling to the one who has already rejected you, holding on to the past, and in doing so, you neglect the one who truly wants to choose you, the one who is ready and willing to be with you. You can justify your attraction to your ex as much as you want with words like, but I still love her, she's special, I really miss her. But let's have an adult conversation about this. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads. So on your left is your ex. The one who betrayed you, lied to you, and threw you out. And on your right is a kind woman who is ready to love you, ready to be loyal. The question is, who will you choose? Most men, without hesitation, will choose their ex. Guys, then you shouldn't complain about your life later if you keep reaching out to those who have trampled all over you. It's important to remember this. Every time you miss your ex, you turn your back on a good woman who could have come into your life tomorrow, in a month, or in a year. But you've made that meeting almost impossible. Do you see now how ungrateful we are? We worry about those who have rejected us and completely fail to appreciate those who could be by our side. We're willing to step over decent women for the sake of those who have already written us out of their lives. A breakup is always a crossroads. In other words, you either whine with words like "I love her," or you put your principles above your emotions and say, "I can't want someone like that. Who doesn't want me? And I'm willing to pay for that with pain." It's simply a matter of making an internal decision that you need to make once in your life. I personally made that decision when I was about 20. It wasn't easy for me. You have to suffer through it. But since then, not once have my love or desire outweighed common sense. I've never again felt even a hint of fear in relationships, let alone suffering. And not because I've become cold, but because anything that doesn't choose me isn't mine. If a man values his principles more than his desires, he can't be broken. In general, exes most often come back when they're no longer needed. Monitoring your ex. That's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. You go to her page, see her face, and get a stimulus. But at the same time, you don't get any reward. It's like sitting there hungry and smelling a fried meat burger. Your mouth begins to water, your stomach tightens and clenches with anticipation, but unfortunately, despite your desire, you simply can't take a bite. Smell it, suffer, and watch. Every time you think about your ex, you bring her back to life. Her voice, her face, her laughter. And then suddenly the realization hits you. We're not together anymore. And you bury her over and over again. You go through it. Because of this monitoring, you experience the breakup more than once. You bury her 200 times. And then the guy is surprised. For some reason, I just can't forget her. For some reason, I just can't let go. Buddy, if you keep burying her every week, how are you supposed to forget her? You're crippling yourself with these thoughts. Why would you suddenly start feeling better? Do you know what actually happens to men who think about their ex every single day and allow themselves to do it? They just lose their minds. A person might start checking their mailbox every day, just in case the ex left a little envelope with a confession in there. If someone calls from an unknown number and hangs up, that's it. That's all it takes. The man instantly decides it was his ex who did it. There can't possibly be any other explanation. But if some fake account adds you on social media, or even more so, sends you a message, well, then it's all perfectly clear. I don't know how this works. But when you really need your ex, when she's really important, no one gets in touch. No one. You're just falling apart, that's all, but you don't even have the tiniest bit of hope. And you see that she just doesn't care at all. It drives you crazy. But after some time, it gets a little bit easier. Well, just a little. And at that moment, the most you can hope for is just for her to reach out to you. She might just give you a nudge. And as I'm telling you this now, I remember more than 10 times being ignored. It was always the same every time. Always. So, when the significance faded a little, you kind of kept living your life, but it turned into a chronic state. That is, the person was still very important to you. And sometimes you remember them, it hits you, and you start thinking and worrying again. No, it doesn't work. She doesn't reach out, like I said, only to mess with you a little. But even if she does reach out, it triggers so many thoughts. New hopes, which just make things even harder for you. And there was never a real resolution in that state. But in every case, in every episode of my life, when I finally made a firm decision, when I realized I couldn't endure this pain any longer, that hope wasn't helping me anymore, it was just making things worse and worse. At that very moment, I made the decision. The very one I'm talking about, that's it, there will be nothing more. This is the end. This is the finale of this story. And as soon as I did that, 2 weeks later, a month later, yes, sometimes it took a bit longer, she would reach out. And not just casually, but persistently, intensely, sending signals as if she could feel it. And I remember I didn't feel happy about it, I'll be honest. When you become wiser, more experienced, you don't feel happy about it. I look at it and think, why? Why are you doing this now? I just started living, why did you do this now? And you don't know what to do, because it even seems like maybe it's similar to coming out of being ignored, right? And you're not happy about it. I remember that moment when you think, okay, fine. You get back in touch, maybe even meet up. If it's your ex-wife, she might also give some kind of signal. Maybe you'll even spend the night together, go on a trip somewhere. It's always the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's an ex-girlfriend or a wife. It's always the same pattern. You think, here it is, here she is. We even kissed once. So something must still be there inside. But a few days go by, and it all starts over again. And you can't believe how crazy this is. You think, wait, what is this? Am I really about to go through all this suffering again? So here I am, believing again, getting back together again, and having to go through all of this once more, having to bury her all over again. And realizing this, especially when you've gone through it not once, not twice, not even 3 times, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And at a certain point, you tell yourself, stop, I don't believe in anything anymore. Nothing at all. Even if she comes knocking at my door, I don't believe it. More than once in my practice, someone has come to me and said, Maxim, you're my last hope. I've already seen 25 specialists, and every single one of them said in unison that my ex will definitely come back. What do you say? And even at the stage of reviewing the brief, I can already see that there's 0 chance. You see, a good specialist, in my opinion, he sells his expertise. A bad specialist sells a positive forecast. As I see it, many don't even set themselves the goal of telling the client the truth. You come to a consultation with a personal tragedy, but for such a specialist, you're just a filled time slot in his schedule. He's like, okay, great, I've got someone at 11 o'clock. At the very moment when you're baring your soul to him, he's thinking, will I have time to eat before the next client or not? Maybe I've upset someone with this information, but that's how most people actually work. Many remember that at the beginning of running this channel, I helped people get their exes back. That is, we developed specific plans there. At that time, I had at least 60 people on my waiting list. But the problem was that some people didn't come for an analysis of their situation, but for a result, like, bro, here's the money, and now normalized, false, get my girl back. And when I tried to tell someone, I've just heard your story and there are no prospects with this woman, those people didn't want to listen to me. That's when I realized that the way I interacted with clients needed to be changed urgently. In other words, I'm an analyst who has his own opinion. So, if you're interested in that opinion, come to me, but don't force me to say what you want to hear. And after that, 90% of people disappeared. Where do you think they went? They went to those who give good predictions. Let's get back to the topic of the video. If you evaluate a woman correctly, you'll never have problems in a relationship. Here's how I personally assess a woman's value. Her loyalty is the engine. Her attention and care are the wheels. Her reliability is the gearbox. So it turns out that if a woman left you, she didn't have any real value. It's a favorite piece of metal that won't go anywhere. At least for now, that's exactly how it is. And here's the irony. As you understand, to get your ex back, you'll have to let go of hope. All those whose exes came back to them, they didn't clap their hands loudly. In other words, it was a completely ordinary event. Like, well, that's cool, I guess. But most likely, you're not ready for that yet. That is, you need to better understand the mechanics of relationships. How a woman falls in love, female typology. All these things can be found in my private lectures. There's a link under every video. Check it out. And as always, thank you all for watching.